Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. I want to talk today about a subject that, those moments when later on you can retrace steps and go, that's a big aha for me. I've had an aha around this so many times that now I'm constantly talking about it, teaching to it, and really challenging people with it. And I think it's such a beautiful challenge for every single one of us to stop and think about how to erase when we desire, when we know that it's potentially necessary, the equation of the and or the or, and really just say it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both, right? You can really achieve and do both in many different ways. And as I think about it in my career, one of the things that was said a lot in terms of being a mom, right? Gaggle of young children. If you don't know me, I have triplets. And then at the time that I had the triplets, I had a 2-year-old. And I also really, really, really loved lending from the day that I got in, and from the day that I was on bed rest with the triplets to when I delivered them to after their delivery. I wanted to come back to work. And I think that we can play a lot of mind games with ourselves that say, my desire to be at work is my desire to maybe not want to be with the kids. And that's not the case at all, right? It can be both. It can be, I want to be the best version of myself with my kids. And I also love my work in lending, right? I was processing, not even originating at the time, but it was a both. And I've learned to accept and love and embrace the both in so many things, including hard things, right? Getting up and going to work every single day is hard, right? As is staying at home and maybe feeling frustrated financially or different decisions around that. Like those things will create a both automatically, right? And so you really want to decide, what do I want my life to look like? And can I do a multitude of things really well and feel good about choosing both? Because I think sometimes we can get so narrow-minded with it's one or the other, right? It's one or the other, and I'm one or the other. And I think motherhood does that probably at the worst for us. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story. And I wrote a speech that I might even share on this podcast today, and a little bit vulnerable. My mom passed away in November. And one of the things that I reference when it comes to my mom is I was sitting down and really replaying my steps. So I had a working mom when I was growing up. My parents were married for 50 plus years, really, really blessed, really lucky in that space. My mom really was the definition for me of both. And when I really think about my life, I can do both. I can be fiercely independent and really happily married. I can be absolutely a leader, and I can be a great follower. I can be an incredible coach and a great student. I can be a top producing loan officer and still care about my clients. You can be a great mom and have a great career. And I think that when we start to say, I can only do this in general in life, we are limiting our desire, right, for abundance to say it can be both, right? I can love to go to church on Sunday. You see those t-shirts and cuss a little. I don't love it, right? Like I definitely talk about it later, but it's definitely a thing that you can be both, right? You can be a profound lover of Jesus and absolutely still be a sinner, right? That's the perfect both in this world. And we all know that exists. There are so many places where you can say, what am I capable of? And does that make my plate too full? Or are you thinking that empty spot on my plate would be felt much more than choosing to do all of it? That doesn't mean get overwhelmed, be overly people-pleasing to everybody and their mother. It's really about your choices and what you're good with. And one of the things that, in my marriage that we've done a really good job of is John and I have always kind of said, and I had to wipe away all of the noise, everything else going on, and say, hey, what do the two of us want? Are we in alignment with our goals? And are you good with how I am? And am I good with how you are? And do I feel good about who I am? Do you feel good about who you are? And then from there, it kind of cascaded down. And so I had to stop worrying about what everyone else thought and think, what is the both? And so I think this will really ride home. And I'm actually going to grab my phone for a minute, and I'm going to read to you in what it's called as a mom of boths. I've wrestled for the last couple of weeks of what to say today. The truth is, I couldn't decide if mom would love all of this or was rolling her eyes about all the fuss. I came to the conclusion it's both. As I thought about how I would share my mom with all of you, I realized that she was the perfect representation of both. In business, I coach and speak all over the country, teaching people it's often an and, not an or, aka both. I had to smile and tear up as I realized this analogy was best represented by our mom. Mom was a working mom, full-time and loved business. She headed to work every day and was home taking care of our family every night. We had a traditional family dinner at least 5 nights a week. Sometimes we had a babysitter so she could meet up with dad after work for a dinner at Reams. I listen to women tell me all over that they have doubts and guilt about chasing a career or being a great mom and a great wife. I've been able to help them realize it's not an or, it's an and. Our mom showed us how to be both. Mom was the best mom, loved our dad, and loved to work and run a business. Proud to say she was the original mom boss. She was both. Anyone who knows our mom has likely been questioned by her. Some of those questions likely startled you or made you think, why would she ask that? I'm a pretty direct person. I think I know where I got that. Talk with people. At times, she would make them so uncomfortable that they would nervously laugh as she continued to press in. She always had more questions, making sure she heard and knew everything she needed to hear, but more importantly, everything you needed to say. Many would refer to this as a little nosy. If you loved her and realized that she loved you, the prying made you feel and see how interested she was in knowing you. And yes, she was also a little nosy. She was both. I'm sure I'm not the only person here who has had a tummy ache to miss school. I remember going to the office to call my mom and tell her I was sick. Mom didn't fall for that trick more than once. I'm guessing because her last daughters, Kim and Carrie, ruined that for me. Quickly got smart and would call my next emergency contact, i.e. one of my mom's best friends, Terry McPhee. She would come pick me up and I would gladly go eat her homemade chicken noodle soup, fresh cinnamon toast, and lay in front of her TV on the floor watching cartoons until mom got off work. I only got away with that twice before my mom was on to me and the tough love came. She was both annoyed and amused by my clever antics. Growing up, I was deathly afraid of the dark, and especially when I was alone in my room. I would tiptoe into their bed and snuggle up to mom, me being the youngest, and eventually I became too big to crawl in between mom and dad without my dad noticing. He would instantly say, "Robin, go back to bed." To be fair, I was at least 8 or 9 years old, so probably not the most appropriate, still crawling in bed with mom and dad. And I would go back into my room and lay there wide awake, scared. I still blame the creepy guy from the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Often within minutes, mom would show up with a smile and a little dismay. She would crawl into the bed for the rest of the night. When we were actually sick, I think everyone wants their mom. While empathetic, she was also stern. She would always say, "Don't miss the toilet." She had no problem getting you a warm washcloth, but only after you took care of your business appropriately. Love and tough love is something I learned from my mom. It was always a both. Kim and Carrie and I all have countless stories of coming home complaining about a hard day at school, someone who was mean to us, unfair teachers, coaches. Our mom would listen and then look us dead in the eye and say, "Well, what did you do in all of this?" We would want her to defend us. We would want her to honor us, fight our battles. She never would. Instead, she would make us look in the mirror, owning anything that we could in this situation. It always irritated me, often felt very unfair. All the other moms would be calling and complaining, and all of a sudden there'd be these meetings. My mom would never partake. She didn't want to hear that it was someone else's fault. She was so good at accountability, endless supportive love. I did watch that toughness part shift once she became a grandma. When her grandkids were born, now the great grandkids, when they were little, they could do no wrong whatsoever. I can relate to that now being a grandma. And everything that they did was always someone else's fault if they were unhappy or struggling. Once they got older, though, that tough love came back. And I can tell you as a parent in general that the both in that space is so desperately needed by our children and by one another. Both the tough and the unconditional, right? The tough and the unconditional love. I did watch the toughness. Mom lost her hearing years ago after an infection and a hospital stint from them. She would always say to anyone having a normal conversation, "What? I can't hear you." But if you whispered or had a side convo, she knew exactly what you said and just enough to ask questions, which always made us giggle. She had both. If you want a mom in her happy place, take her to the ocean or the mountains. The cabin was what she loved. She also loved the ocean on the Oregon coast. I tell a little story about that. She was both. She loved both winter and summer. She was a perfect mix of saying, I'll take what life gives me and make the most of it and see the beauty. Mom made new friends wherever she went, but also loved friends that were lifelong. She had a friendship with her very best friend that most people would only dream of. 50 plus years she kept in touch and had a deep relationship with Linda Stewart. On her final days and her less smiles and lucid moments, my mom would beam to have a few minutes alone with Linda. A friendship that lasted a lifetime, and countless new relationships always existed in my mom's life. It was a bolt. She worried from the day we were born until the day she passed. Every trip I have ever taken, she has texted me and said, are you there yet? And are you home safe? She pushed us to go explore and take risks and spread our wings and always come back home safe. Both. Mom, like any good mom, didn't prefer some of our friends growing up. She would steer us in the direction she felt would serve us best. Think of this in your own space of you are who you hang out with. When the not so good ones would come around, Mom would always say that you are who you hang out with. Once she knew you were one of the ones that was good for us, she would love you like her own. Discretion and acceptance, both. She never wanted more kids, likely once she had the 19 months apart Carrie and Robin show, and possibly with big sis Kim saying, please no more little sisters. She was good to not add any more to the family. We grew up often feeling like a family of 5 siblings instead of 3. My mom and dad loved our cousins Chris and Lisa as their own, and we were lucky enough to be raised together as a pack, which kind of gave us both. No more expansion and yet our expanded family. Our current family growing one new addition at a time via the addition of spouses and new babies, had my mom and dad so proud of the legacy that they built. Mom has said, despite the chaos that comes with family gatherings at 40 plus people sometimes versus 8 to 10 as it used to be, it can never be too big to be together. Her only legacy wish was the connection that all of our family continues to stay connected despite the size. Both. You can stay incredibly close and also be incredibly big. A really good example of that for myself in the business setting is our branch has grown and yet we've remained incredibly connected. Our company has grown and yet we've remained incredibly connected in our culture. You can grow your business with your real estate agents, with your clients, and remain incredibly present and connected and still joyful in that growth. While things change a little bit, you can still do both. I could go on and on about the silly boths, about the life lessons from her boths. She loved card game, a White Russian and a margarita, NFL football, and a sappy or musical movie. The only place a both didn't exist is how she voted, and she never wavered on that. That was never a both. So I'll end with what I believe our both is about being here today. We still want her here, but we are so grateful, and we grieve in the void of not having her with us during the celebration and the overwhelming gratitude for the life that we got to share with her. We will cry and we will celebrate, we will mourn and we will keep moving. Life doesn't seem possible without her, and yet living out her legacy with love and strengths is the honor that we all owe. So I thanked her at the end for giving us the both. And I will tell you, in life in general, that concept has resonated with me probably more than anything in both business, in friendships, in myself and my own reflections, in what we are absolutely capable of and how we can find not even perfect balance, but just harmony to decide that both is something that we can all decide on, that we can choose, that we can aspire for, that we can absolutely make happen. So if you're questioning, where's the sacrifice? What about this? What about this? This should be one way, right? One way and not the other way. You can add both to a lot of things and find a lot of joy in business and in life. We'll see you soon. If this episode was helpful, I hope you share it, and we'll see you on the next Wild.